A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves laguerres from the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority always votes for the candidates promising the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result that a democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policy, always followed by a dictatorship. The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequence, from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back into bondage. Alexander Fraser Tytler. Every 4th of July, Americans gather with family, fire up the barbecue, wave the flag, and watch fireworks light up the night sky. It's one of my favorite holidays. But beneath all the celebration is a question that's worth asking. What exactly are we celebrating? Not just the birth of a nation. We're celebrating the birth of an idea. An idea so revolutionary that it changed the course of human history forever. That governments don't own the people. The people own the government. In 1776, a small collection of colonies challenged the most powerful empire on earth by declaring that our rights do not come from a king, a president, or a parliament. They come from our Creator. The Declaration of Independence puts it this way: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That wasn't simply beautiful writing. It was a direct challenge to every king, emperor, and tyrant who believed government existed above the people. Jefferson was declaring exactly the opposite. Government exists only because the people allow it to exist. Its purpose is simple: protect our God-given rights, not grant them, not ration them, not redefine them, protect them. Today, we're going to look back at why the colonies chose independence, what they were actually fighting against, and why those principles still matter nearly 250 years later. Why the colonies chose independence. When people think about the American Revolution, they usually think about the Boston Tea Party or the phrase taxation without representation. Those were certainly important, but the revolution wasn't sparked by one tax or one bad decision. It was the result of years of accumulated grievances. The colonists believed their rights as Englishmen were being systematically violated through taxation without representation, interference with local self-government, standing armies quartered among civilians, restrictions on trade, and a government that had become increasingly unaccountable to the people. Thomas Jefferson documented those grievances in remarkable detail. One of them reads, "He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out of their substance." Think about that wording. Swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out of their substance. Jefferson wasn't complaining simply because government existed. He was warning that what happens when government grows beyond its proper role. The colonists didn't wake up one morning and decide to fight the world's greatest military power. They exhausted petitions. They appealed to the crown. They sought peaceful resolutions. Only after years of repeated abuses did they conclude that independence was the only remaining option. The founders understood a timeless lesson. Power naturally expands unless it's restrained. And when power becomes concentrated, liberty begins to disappear. The question that hasn't changed. Fast forward nearly 250 years, the faces have changed, the technology has changed, the economy has changed. But the fundamental question remains exactly the same. How much power should government have over our daily lives? That debate has existed since 1776. Today, we hear growing calls for larger government programs and greater government involvement in healthcare, education, housing, energy, retirement, and countless other areas of life. Supporters often argue those programs create fairness and security. Critics argue they require government to accumulate enormous authority over both the economy and lives of ordinary citizens. Thomas Jefferson warned about concentrating that kind of power. He wrote, "To take from one in order to spare to others is to violate arbitrarily the first principle of association, the guarantee to every one of a free exercise of his industry and the fruits acquired by it." Whether you agree with Jefferson or not, his concern was straightforward. A government large enough to direct economic outcomes necessarily possesses tremendous power over individual lives. In my view, that's the danger. All these people calling for socialism, electing socialists to office, it's a dangerous trend. At its core, the danger of socialism lies in the dangerous concentration of power it requires. To guarantee total economic equality, the state must seize control of prices, production, and the fruits of individual labor, which fundamentally destroys the incentives that drive innovation and prosperity. History repeatedly demonstrates that when a centralized government controls the resources necessary for human survival, like housing, healthcare, and employment, individual choice disappears and citizens are forced into complete dependency. Ultimately, socialism replaces voluntary personal freedom with coercive government control, turning a government meant to protect natural rights into a centralized authority capable of taking them away. Historically true socialism, where the state controls property and the economy, has never worked and has consistently resulted in economic stagnation, widespread shortages, and authoritarian tyranny. Whether looking at the total collapse of civil liberties in the 20th century Soviet bloc or the crippling bureaucratic gridlock in post-war democratic nations like the UK and India, state-run systems routinely fail because they destroy individual incentive and cannot replicate the efficiency of free market prices. Even the highly praised Nordic countries are not actually socialist. Their welfare programs are entirely funded by robust, highly competitive capitalist economies, proving that a society can only sustain public benefits by first allowing free enterprise to generate the wealth. The more responsibility we transfer to government, the more authority government must possess to fulfill those promises. History shows that freedom isn't free, but dependency isn't free either. Every promise made by government must be ultimately funded, regulated, administered, and enforced. The question is simple: who holds that power? Freedom requires responsibility. The founders never believed freedom would be easy. Freedom demands responsibility. It demands work. It demands self-government. It demands strong families, healthy communities, local institutions, and citizens willing to solve problems rather than expecting distant bureaucracies to solve everything for them. Samuel Adams understood that better than almost anyone. He wrote, "If ye love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you." Harsh words, but they capture an important truth. Comfort and liberty are not always the same thing. Sometimes freedom asks more of us. Sometimes it requires sacrifice. Sometimes it requires accepting uncertainty instead of surrendering independence. The men and women of 1776 weren't seeking an easier life. They were seeking a freer one. The price of independence. As we celebrate Independence Day this year, remember that the men who signed the Declaration of Independence weren't celebrities or career politicians. They were farmers, merchants, lawyers, ministers, business owners, ordinary people who understood they might lose everything. The final sentence of the Declaration says, "They pledged to one another our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." That wasn't a slogan, it was a promise. Many paid for it with imprisonment, financial ruin, or death. Whether you're conservative, liberal, independent, or somewhere in between, every American has inherited the blessings purchased by those sacrifices. Our responsibility isn't simply to enjoy those blessings, it's to understand them, protect them, and pass them on to the next generation. Enjoy the fireworks, spend time with your family, fly the flag proudly. Remember those who paid the price for our independence, because freedom survives only when ordinary Americans choose to defend it, cherish it, and teach their children why it matters. Happy Independence Day. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.